It was a hot one in the desert as Coachella Valley beats Abbotsford 5-4 in overtime. Series is tied at 1 heading for the Fraser Valley. We're talking AHL playoffs right here on Rink Wide. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide studios in downtown Vancouver on this Saturday night. Heck of a hockey game down in the desert. The Coachella Valley Firebirds defeat the Abbotsford Canucks by a score of 5-4 in overtime. 4 minutes and 45 seconds in. An unfortunate miscue by Nikita Tolopilo, who replaced Artur Silovs after 20 minutes of play. Tolopilo was terrific, but he takes the loss. Abbotsford takes the loss. Still in good shape after taking the opener 3-1 the other night, but the series is tied 1 win apiece now as they both pack up and head for the Fraser Valley. The series will resume there on Wednesday, and the duration of this series will be played at the Abbotsford Center with games 3, 4, and 5 if necessary out in the Fraser Valley. It was all Coachella Valley 3-0 after 1 period of play. That's why Manny Malhotra made the goaltending switch. And then credit to the Abbotsford Canucks. They came back in a big way, took a 4-3 lead, and in fact, had the lead with under 4 minutes to play. But then you give credit to Coachella Valley. These teams went back and forth. Firebirds tied it, forced overtime. And as I said, overtime didn't make it to the 5-minute mark. And Coachella Valley was able to take advantage of the miscue by the Canucks goaltender. 5-4 is the final score. Lots to get into, lots to break down. So many talking points come out of this hockey game. And we will do all of that. Dave Hall from Canucks Army, my colleague at Canucks Army, he's going to join us as he always does here on Rink Wide. We'll get to Dave in a couple of minutes. First things first, though, we want to tell you that Rink Wide is brought to you in part by Bet365. And if you want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365, they got you. From game props, player props, totals, the money line. You can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and a whole lot more. Whatever the bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs, must be 19 or older. Of course, we're focusing on the AHL playoffs because the Vancouver Canucks didn't qualify for the Stanley Cup playoffs, but their minor league affiliate certainly did through one round, and now in a battle here in a best-of-5 second-round series. And again, started with 2 on the road. Now the duration of the series, the balance, will take place out in Abbotsford. The chat is rocking on our YouTube channel. If you want to get in there, you can post your comments. If you want to, you've got something that you got to get off your chest and you want to get it to the queue and make sure that we read it here on Rink Wide, then you know what to do. Hit us up with a super chat. Our charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Any little bit helps here, and it all goes to a terrific cause. So, it's been fun having the BC Mental Health Foundation with us as our charity partner all season long. Jacob Melanson with his first of the playoffs. That is the goal scorer that ended this game. Gets it done at 4:45. Ben Myers, who had a nice night for Coachella Valley and had a nice season for Coachella Valley. He figured in 3 of their 5 goals. We'll get to the 3 stars a little bit later on. We'll have our stat that stands out. And again, Dave is standing by, and we're going to hear from him and get his thoughts. But just a couple of things that I wanted to get to, and then we'll get Dave to weigh in on a couple of these things as well. This is a gutsy effort from this Abbotsford team, already without Christian Wolanin and Jonathan Lecker-Mackey. They lost Jet Wu 2 minutes into the hockey game. Questionable hit. Jujhar Khaira took exception to it, dropped the gloves. Don't see a lot of fights in playoff hockey anymore. But I think the Canucks didn't like the hit up high on Jet Wu, and he left the hockey game, didn't return. And so now they're down to 5 defensemen for essentially the whole game. I mean, Wu had a couple of shifts. The fight happened 3 minutes in. So the hit came in the first couple of minutes of the hockey game. No Jet Wu. And so credit to the guys that were forced to log a ton of minutes. And you look at the defense corps. We're showing the replay here. Jet Wu gets hit and then gets hit a second time. And it really was the second hit that left him a little bit dazed. And then Jujhar Khaira steps in. But Victor Mancini's already been asked to shoulder a big load, and he played a lot here. Guillaume Brisebois, who scored the other night, Akito Hirose, on and on it goes. Kirill Kudratsev, and Cole McWard, sort of the forgotten man, but I thought McWard had himself a fine night here. So credit to those guys, but it didn't end there because Aatu Räty left this game after 2 periods of play, and if you've been a regular here with us through the playoffs, Räty's been a guy that I've expected more from. After seeing what he's done in the National Hockey League this year, has had a quiet playoff, but still a guy with that sort of pedigree and that experience, every night out's an opportunity for him to step up. If he's gone, and I don't know, and we're not going to get any injury updates out of Palm Springs after this game, but certainly a storyline to follow here. But again, Abbotsford was down to 5 defensemen, and then for the third period in overtime, down to 11 forwards. So that's a tough blow. And maybe at some point there'll be good news with a guy like Willanen getting back and Lekkerimäki. We'll have to wait and see when Abbotsford gets back from the desert and starts to practice. We'll see who's available for Manny Malholtra's team. Speaking of Manny, and of course, now with this opening in the big league team, I think a lot of people are going to be watching this Abbotsford team a little bit differently, not just the players on the ice, but the guy behind the bench and the guy that's calling the shots here, and what kind of job is Manny Malhotra doing here in these playoffs? And we know, 44 wins in the regular season. Abbotsford has had a terrific year, and Manny Malhotra has been a big part of that. I thought Manny had himself a heck of a night. It's unfortunate that Abbotsford ends up taking the loss here. He made the goaltending switch, so there was in-game adjustments, and I think it was the right call. Silov struggled. He gave up 3 goals on just 8 shots, 2 on his first 4 in this hockey game. And so Manny, no reservations about turning to Nikita Tolopilo and getting him his first taste of AHL playoff action. But beyond that, when they were down 3-0, to come out to start the second period, Manny Malhotra made switches to all 4 of his forward lines, and that's when he had Aatu Räty still in the lineup and available to him. But one of the changes that he made was putting Jujhar Khaira with Nate Smith and Sammy Blais, and they took over in the third period. Khaira had 2 goals to tie the game and then to put Abbotsford in front. He also had an assist, so a big night for Jujhar Khaira, the veteran. But I thought Manny Malhotra did a nice job just in terms of tinkering with his lineup, making the changes that he had to, and ultimately helping his hockey club to get to a point where they were 4 minutes away from taking a commanding 2-0 series lead. But a wild scramble led to the 4th goal. That tied it up, and then to overtime they go. And 4 minutes and 45 seconds in, the Firebirds stick it to the Canucks, win this hockey game. So a couple of people in the chat, Quinn saying that's Abby's first road loss in a long time. 11 straight wins coming into this thing on the road. So yeah, been a while since Abbotsford has tasted defeat away from home. Suzanne says, in the first game, boys were good at shutting down the Firebirds in transition. Tables were turned on them this game. Hope they can fix that in the next one. Cam says, pathetic officiating, the embellishment against Sasson and the roughing on Carlson were laughable. Don't get me started on face-off tosses tonight. If you didn't watch the game, Cam referring to a couple of penalty calls. The roughing on Carlson, Linus Carlson missed a breakaway at 2-0, and a strange sequence because he got the move he was looking for. Goaltender made a glove save, and I think just out of frustration of not scoring, he basically grabbed the Coachella Valley defender and put him in a headlock, and it was a weird decision on Carlson's part. You put the refs in that position to have to make a call, and they made the call. The Sasson one, Max Sasson got drilled from behind into the end boards, and they called him for diving, which did seem questionable. The initial penalty was definitely a penalty. And for whatever reason, they wanted to even it up, so they sent off Max Sasson as well. Canucks discipline has been really good, and it was again tonight. Only one Coachella Valley power play. They didn't score on it. And so you want that from your team. You want to be able to have some pushback and resistance, but you don't want to cross the line. And I thought Abbotsford did a nice job of that. So lots of positives. Unfortunately, it is a bottom line business. How did they do? They lose. But they're still in good shape, up 1-1, coming home, and a chance to take this series with 2 wins out of 3 games, if necessary, on home ice. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Toyota Pacific Dealers. And they want to tell you about the BZ4X. And we tell you about the BZ4X on every episode here of Rink Wide, 100% electric. It's backed by the peace of mind of knowing it's a Toyota and that spark of joy you get when you pass the gas stations along the way and you don't have to stop. It's got all sorts of cargo space and capacity for everything that you can imagine, all of the kids and their toys and their sporting gear, whatever. Lots of room in the BZ4X. And of course, it can handle any terrain, so it can take you from the city to the slopes in the winter if you got ski gear in there. Maybe they were talking about the hills if you got mountain bike and equipment, whatever. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives. And now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 0.99% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Phil DiGiuseppe with the second of the playoffs. That got the comeback going early in the second period. Then Nate Smith with a wraparound that made it 3-2. 2 quick goals in the first 5 minutes of the second period, and all of a sudden it was game on. 3-2 for Coachella Valley into the third period, and then Jujhar Khaira with a pair of goals. The first one needed a video review. The referee looked like he was in great position, waving the goal off. The way Khaira celebrated, like goal scorers know when the puck goes in. It hit the back bar and it came out quickly, but Jujhar knew it was in. You could see the celebration, but the referee was waving it off, and then there was all sorts of confusion on the ice, but it counted. Absolutely, it counted, and then Khaira again on a nifty setup from Nate Smith. And with 7 minutes to go, it was 4-3 Abbotsford. And then with 4 minutes to go, it was still 4-3 Abbotsford, but that's when Ben Meyer scored to tie it. And off to overtime they went. I feel like we've taken Dave Hall to overtime and kept him waiting here long enough. We got to get Dave from Canucks Army into the mix. So let's do that. We'll have our 3 stars a little later on. We'll get our stat that stands out. But there he is, my colleague from Canucks Army, and he's joined me here on each and every one of the Rink Wide episodes after the Abbotsford playoff game. So another one here, Dave. Tough loss, but what a hockey game. Just a terrific night of entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, that's a real tough loss for a real gutsy comeback there. I thought, as much as you hate to take that game into overtime and lose, there's lots of positives to be taken from there, starting from the coach all the way down into Nikita Tolopilo. So tough loss, but it's only one game. You still now have home ice advantage for the next 3 games if necessary. So yeah, all in all, very entertaining, lots to like. And now we push forward.
Yeah. Not a lot of chances for Abbotsford in overtime. Overtime didn't last very long. And, that is a tough way because Nikita Tolopilo comes in a tough spot, comes in cold, first game action in a while, and was really good. Not a lot he could do on the 4-4 goal, the scramble, the puck bouncing in the air, but just you could sort of see him having a little hesitation behind the net in overtime with the puck on his stick, and unfortunately coughs it up, and Melanson made him pay. And so, yeah, I mean, as we watched it on the live stream here, a little bit of pressure behind the net, and boom, it's over. So tough way to end. But as you said, I think for Tolopilo, and we've asked this before. We asked it after the Game 2 loss against Tucson. Does Manny Malhotra have a decision to make? I guess we'll have to wait for Game 3 to see who his goaltender will be.
Yeah, and I mean, like it really is a shame because if it wasn't for that terrible giveaway, I think the storyline completely switches into, does Nikita Tolopilo start next game in Abbotsford? And now, that just puts a massive blemish on the entire game. I mean, I already see on Twitter or X rather, people pretty much diminishing everything that he did in the entire game because of the giveaway. And it's unfortunate because he really did play well. Even right before that giveaway, he made some pretty awesome saves. I believe on Jagger Fergus there, some point blank saves, and he came up big. I believe we're going to see it right here. So, it really is too bad. He came in a bad spot. I love the play by Manny Malhotra first and foremost to put him into the second. I know we were messaging in the first intermission there, and I just thought it would be a great play. Hasn't played in weeks. Down 3-0. What do you really have to lose? Get your 1B guy some minutes, and I thought he played well. Like as you said, he was cold, and yeah, just too bad. Tough way to end a good start there.
And yeah, credit to you, because you're right. We were messaging after one, and you kind of had a feeling that maybe it was Tolopilo time, and sure enough, it was. And I think that was the right call. What did you make? And we don't get a lot of angles at the American Hockey League level, so you take what you can on the broadcast. But what did you make of the hit on Jet Wu and the fact that he left the game and did not return? And now we'll have to wait and see if he is available for the remainder of this series moving forward. But kind of got double teamed in the corner by a couple of Firebirds early.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to zoom in on the play. I've watched it over and over, and to me, that's a hit in the numbers. Like that's an easy hit in the numbers. We'll see it right here. Like I guess maybe it would, the first blow was the initial hit, and then it's an unfortunate second hit. But I don't know. I think regardless, that should be something. I do credit Jujhar Khaira for stepping up and answering the call there and stepping up for his teammate. But that's a huge loss for the Canucks, especially that early in the period. I mean, or in the game rather. Like now you're playing with 5D man. He's not only that, Jet Wu's been fantastic. Just that's what he's built for. He's built for playoff hockey. So yeah, I didn't like it. To me, that's a hit. That's a hit in the numbers, at least on the second hit there. So I don't know. I thought it could have been something, but I mean, especially if we see Max Sasson get a diving penalty when he's clearly hit into the boards. So well, it is what it is. I thought it was a little dirty, but obviously they didn't think so.
I thought, and I guess I'm not surprised, Coachella Valley lost the opener, that they make the adjustments. I thought they came out trying to be physical, and that was part of it there. But yeah, I mean, the first guy takes Jet Wu out, and that's fine, but now he's engaged with one guy already, and it was that second hit that clearly did the damage, and so that's where Jujhar Khaira stepped in. Moments after that, Coachella Valley opened the scoring. Gustav Olofsson, long shot from the point after Atu Ratu had lost the draw cleanly, and we know that that's one of Atu Ratu's strong suits, and so you don't like to see that. But they scored early the other night, and Coachella Valley was able to, or Abbotsford was able to come back as they did in this hockey game too. So I think even though they lose, they have to have this confidence that, yeah, you want to score first. Yes, you want to dictate, but hey, if Coachella Valley opens the scoring, Abbotsford has shown in both of these games that they're able to respond and chip away and ultimately come all the way back like they did in this one. But the hill got steep because it was 1-0, and then 7 minutes in on the fourth shot of the night, it's 2-0. Shot from the right point by Ty Nelson and then Max LaJoie. And I thought that one, those goals late in a period in the final minute, they're so often a killer. You get out of the first period 2-0, it's not ideal, but you're okay with that much time. But to make it 3-0 there, I thought, like that might be curtains. But again, that's why I give credit to this Abbotsford group that just wouldn't take no for an answer on the night. But still, there were a couple of goals there that, and whether Manny Malhotra was just trying to turn the tide, change the momentum, or whether he looked and he didn't like the goals themselves, whatever the case, he made the decision to go to Tolopilo. But as much as we had praised Artur Silovs for the shutout in Game 3, the deciding game against Tucson, and the other night as well, there were a couple of goals there that I think you would have liked a save or two somewhere along the line.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't say anything about the second goal. That's just a quick redirect off Cole McWard, right into the net. So that's fine. But the first one, yeah, it's a heavy shot, but that's just a clean point shot that just, it beats him up high. At this point, we know Silovs does have a bit of a weakness with those long shots, and that's just a straight up goal. There's not much not much screening going on in front of him. And then the third one, it's a backbreaker, and it's just a bit of a weak goal. It's a nice play off the skate by LaJoie, but it's just ultimately that's just a squeaker that you have to save that late in the third. So I just thought it was I think at this point, as I already mentioned, it's just kind of a no-brainer. You might as well just, obviously it's just not Silovs' night. Give him a bit of a rest, see where it goes from there, but let Tolopilo get some minutes. So I don't know. I agree. I would have liked to save on that third goal for sure. It's just a backbreaker, but credit to them for coming back.
And as we saw, lines get in the blender, and understandable at 3-0. And coaches are always, you're hoping to find a spark. You're hoping to hit on something that works. And boy, did the trio of Smith with Blais and Khaira, I mean, they basically took over this hockey game. That trio had it going on for the remainder of the night.
Not only, yeah, absolutely. And if I'm being honest, through that entire stretch from January on, that trio has been something. I mean, Sammy Blais might be one of the most untalked about, unsung heroes on this team. He just, whether it's a forward check, whether it's a goal, whether it's a nifty play, he just seems to be able to, step up when needed. He's on an AHL contract right now, but I think the way he's played in this back half, I think he's on track to get a sniff in the NHL, whether that's in Vancouver or elsewhere. But that's just my hot take. I just think he's played really well, and all three of them like together. Yeah, you love the Jujhar Khaira 2 goals, Nate Smith 2 great assists as well, and so. Yeah, that's the kind of secondary scoring we've been talking about this entire playoffs that you just love to see when guys like Arshdeep Bains or Max Sasson, or Assassin rather, sorry, I keep saying Sasson, but whether they're clicking, it's just nice to get that secondary scoring, which we've seen so much in this Abbotsford team.
You talk about Sasson again, another night where like his speed through the neutral zone, it's so noticeable.
Something else.
So I you didn't figure in the scoring in this hockey game, but I noticed him, and we talked earlier about the penalty that he was assessed, which was wild. But I guess I'm getting a little antsy because it feels like a bit of a broken record, still waiting for Arshdeep Bains to really assert himself. And on a night when goals were being scored and there were breakdowns, and this was a night for offensive guys. Still waiting to see from Arshdeep Bains. And before he left the game, again, I thought another relatively quiet night from Aatu Räty. So not going to go too deep on Räty just because we don't know why he left the game and the extent of the injury there. But they're going to need, now it's a best of 3. They're in great shape. They're coming home. But I don't want to do many more shows here where I'm saying they need more from a guy like Arshdeep Bains. I want to see more from Arshdeep Bains.
Yeah, there's that's just it. There's a few of them, like even Sasson, who we love. We've been praising him all this time. As much as you'd still love for him to score a goal tonight.
Sure.
Lekharmaki's obviously not in the round so far, but dating back to game 1 and 2, you'd love to see more from him. Denis Klimovich, he had a couple good looks tonight. I believe at one point he was leading the team in shots, if he didn't lead the team in shots at the end of the game. But there's still tons more to see from him. And so, yeah, there's definitely guys that need to step up. And Bains is probably at the top of that list right now if they're going to win this series. I mean, we saw what Coachella Valley can do. And tonight was the Firebirds that have been the Firebirds for the past 3 years. And they can score 5 goals on you easily. And so, as much as we love the secondary scoring, you just can't just rely on that secondary scoring. So
kind of crazy if people haven't been following the American Hockey League playoffs all that closely. This game, remarkably similar to Coachella Valley's playoff opener against the Calgary Wranglers. They had a 3-0 lead. It was erased in the third period. It went to overtime. And boy, did it ever. It went to triple overtime. They won. So that one went triple overtime. This one barely got going. Ice was barely dry in overtime. But either way, they get to this lead. They squander the lead. And then they find a way to pull it out. And here, they needed the late goal in regulation with 4 minutes to go. And then the winner in overtime. We've got people in the chat here. And I want to ask you because we don't know at this stage. So this is all hypothetical. But if Christian Wolanin remains out and now Jet Wu is out for any length of time, what do you think that means defensively? Where are they on the depth chart in terms of who would be the next man up? And do you think Sawyer Mineo is in the equation now that he has been brought into the mix here after his junior season?
He's definitely an option. I don't, you got guys like Joe Arnson and Christian Felton who have slid in at various times throughout the year, both showing some good signs throughout the year. Both are big bodies that are willing to play, pretty much playoff hockey. So my first inkling is probably geared towards them. Kudryavtsev sliding back to the left side as he typically is. He's been playing a lot of right side in this playoffs. So him sliding back to the left and probably putting 2 guys that have, seen some AHL hockey. So Mineo, he's definitely going to be an option next year, and he could be on Wednesday. I could be completely wrong here, but I do know that, he played in 1 game late last year, and I got a chance to talk to him over the summer. And, he joked one thing that he really noticed about that 1 game that he got is that he had to put on some pounds. And, although he's gotten bigger, is a game 2 or game 3 rather, AHL playoff game really the time to give him his debut? I'm not sure. Maybe it will be, but I tend to lean more towards that Christian Felton and Joe Arnson route.
All right, fair enough. We'll certainly keep our eyes on that one. Lots of people in the chat asking about Lekkerimäki and his whereabouts. I don't even think he was on the trip. I know Lannon wasn't on the trip. The Canucks are saying complications from dental surgery. We'll take them at face value, but at some point, he didn't play the final game of the Tucson series. Now the first 2 games here against Coachella Valley. I don't know. It's playoff time. I don't know how bad the complications are, but I certainly would hope by Wednesday that he's over whatever the issues are and is an option at the very least. And the fact that they lost, I understand Manny Malhotra not making lineup changes coming off a good win the other night, but the door is open after a loss at playoff time. Now, it's the Canucks that have to make a few adjustments here at the very least. So he's going to have to take roll call and see who's available to him first and foremost. I would imagine tomorrow's a travel day, and then they probably get back at practice on Monday. They don't play now until Wednesday, so there is some time for bumps and bruises to heal up. And again, we'll see who is available for the Abbotsford Canucks when the series shifts to the Fraser Valley on Wednesday night.
And by the way, sorry to interrupt, but it was odd too, because right before they left on the trip, Lekkerimäki was practicing without a shield as well. So he was on the ice.
Yeah.
I can see why they wouldn't go with him in this game after winning a big game and not starting him. But the game 1 is the one that kind of, if he was ready to go, again, we don't know, but he was practicing without a shield, full participant as far as I'm aware. So it is a little suspect. Who knows? But oral complications, I suppose. But
yeah. Well, a few more days here now for all of them to rest up and heal up. And look, we got ourselves a series now, and that's what playoff hockey is all about. It's crazy, the difference of 1 goal. I mean, they're in full control if they're coming home up 2-0, but Tucson made them work for it in the opening round, and Coachella Valley, obviously, a good hockey club, and so they have leveled this series at 1 win apiece, and now we'll see how it shakes down, and we'll continue to do this after each and every one of the Abbotsford Canucks playoff games. For the uninitiated, Dave has covered Abbotsford all season long, and for a couple of seasons now, and keeps an eye on prospects too, so he writes the Farmies, the Farm Report, essentially, after each and every game at Canucks Army. So make sure you check that out for more Dave's thoughts on this game and the series. We will eagerly anticipate that, Dave, and we'll eagerly anticipate you joining us on Wednesday after Game 3 of this series. But thanks for this tonight.
Absolutely. It's a fun one for the Farmies tonight, so make sure to read that. And yeah, look forward to Wednesday, and we'll talk then.
All right, there you go. Dave Hall from Canucks Army, and you can find all of his work there on the web, and he cuts highlights as well. You can find him on X if he's a good follow, certainly for info and analysis around this Abbotsford Hockey Club. All right, let's get to the 3 stars. The 3 stars here on Rink Wide differ a little from the 3 stars as selected in the building, but the 3 stars are a presentation of Greta Bar YVR in the rink. And look, no surprise, little home cooking. Jacob Melanson and Ben Myers are the first and second stars. Jujhar Khaira is the lone star from the Abbotsford Canucks. He takes 3rd star honors. We went with Melanson, not only the game winner, but he does pick up the primary assist on Ben Myers' tying goal with 4 to go. So he definitely had his say and dictated the outcome of this hockey game. Melanson with his first of the playoffs. Didn't notice him a lot in the opener. He was the guy that bowled over Artur Silovs, took a penalty in the second period of that contest, but better effort from Melanson using his skills to help his hockey club in this one. So he's the first star. Jujhar Khaira, who came up with a huge game, 2 goals and an assist, and we're going to talk more about him in a moment, but he was the second star. And Nate Smith with a 3-point night. Sort of the prototypical journeyman. I think he's played 14 NHL games for Arizona, spent most of last season with Tucson in the AHL, and so some old friends, I'm sure, on the other side in that opening round playoff matchup. But Nate Smith didn't start the series against Tucson, was a healthy scratch. They inserted him into the lineup for Game 3, and he's stayed in ever since and hasn't looked back, and certainly was a contributor here on that line. Sammy Blais was the other member, but those are the 3 stars. And so, look, it's we're focused on Abbotsford. I know that Coachella Valley won the hockey game, but Abby gets a couple of the stars here on Rink Wide. I was going to call it Rink Wide Vancouver. Old habits. This is Abbotsford. It's the Abbotsford edition of Rink Wide. The 3 stars are brought to you by Greta Bar. We'll tell you every time. All the big screens, not a bad seat in the house, arcade games that surround the bar, a terrific new street food menu, and they've got weekly drink specials as well. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin, and they have been a terrific partner for us here at Rink Wide all season long. All of those Canucks Army watch parties, and they were a lot of fun, and we already are looking forward to more of those next season when the Vancouver Canucks get up and running, but we're all about the Abbey Canucks here on the playoff version of Rink Wide. I said that we would talk more about Jujhar Khaira. We were hoping he was going to get the overtime winner because Jacob Lazar, the technical producer Jacob Lazar, we were talking about it here. Had Jujhar Khaira scored the overtime winner, he would have had a hat trick, but he also had the fight in the first period. He had a Gordie Howe hat trick in this game. Like, how many guys would have a hat trick and a Gordie Howe hat trick in the same game? I'm sure it's happened, but not very often. Like, it's a reason that stands out when a guy has a goal, a fight, and an assist. But anyways, there you can see on your screen the Gordie Howe hat trick, 2 goals, 1 assist, and the scrap for the veteran Jujhar Khaira. And it's crazy, the numbers. Like, the Abbotsford Canucks have barely lost since he joined them late in the season, and so it comes up on the wrong side of the score in this one. But he's definitely a stat that stands out and would have stood out even more had he completed the hat trick and Abbey had won this hockey game. But stat that stands out, a presentation of Resurrection Spirits, and we're telling you these days about Bogey Juice, which is crafted with a tantalizing blend of crisp apple flavoring and kickin' ginger for that refreshing zing. Every shot of Bogey Juice like a hole-in-one for your taste buds, sweetened to perfection with simple syrup, made even smoother with top-shelf vodka. It's the only juice that's guaranteed to make your golf buddies beam with envy, despite the score that it refers to. Check out bogeyjuice.com for more info and use promo code SP15 for 15% off Bogey Juice product and merch. What a night for hockey. Not just this game that required overtime, but how about the only game in the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs tonight? The Dallas Stars defeat the Colorado Avalanche 4-2 in Game 7 down in the Lone Star State. Heavyweight showdown. You knew that a good team was going to be eliminated. Nathan McKinnon with 7 goals and 11 points, and it's not enough for his Colorado Avalanche. So Nate the Great is out, and the Dallas Stars, despite not having Miro Heiskanen, not having Jason Robertson, they get a massive third period from Mikko Rantanen. The storyline kind of writes itself there. And so Dallas is moving on to round number 2, waiting an opponent, and that'll be settled in Game 7 in Winnipeg on Sunday. The Jets at home to the St. Louis Blues. So great hockey game. We had them both on here in the studio, trying to keep an eye on that one as we watched the Abbotsford game with interest, and ultimately Dallas is moving on, and Coachella Valley is back in this series with it tied at 1 win apiece. Fun night of hockey, though, and I hope people are sort of jumping on board. We're seeing great response here at Rink Wide, so we know that there is interest in what the Canucks farm team is doing, and now the series shifts to the Fraser Valley, and it'll stay there the rest of the way. We should mention, pretty good crowd down in Palm Springs, 6,527. That was up from just over 5,500 for the opener. So decent numbers down there in the desert. And let's hope, people, that there is bigger and better things ahead for the Abbotsford crowds. They got to 5,600 for Game 3, the deciding game against Tucson last Saturday. Midweek, I know that's difficult, but the deeper they get in the playoffs, I do hope that people are finding their way to check out the Abbotsford Canucks in person, because you'd love a great atmosphere out there, and certainly they play all season to get home ice advantage, and as we said, like they're a fun team to follow, spreading their scoring around, getting contributions from guys that maybe you wouldn't expect, but that's what it takes at playoff time, and as a result, they got the split out of Palm Springs, and would have loved to. Absolutely. They would have loved the second one tonight, and they came that close, but still in really good shape, as long as this attrition isn't going to sort of take hold here. And unfortunately, that's life in the playoffs as well. You got to find a way to get by without some injured players, but you don't want to see two guys leaving per game, and that was the case. But it's the AHL, and again, they're out on the road, so we're not going to get any kind of injury updates until they get back home, and probably not until practice, and even then, we'll see. It's playoff time, so most teams kind of go into lockdown when it comes to disseminating information about players and their injury status. But I like the fact that this team is scoring a bunch of goals, and unfortunately they gave up one too many in this one, but still, it was a fun hockey game, and they've been fun to watch in the playoffs. They've been fun to watch for the last couple of months, so we'll see where it goes. Make sure you're following along at Canucks Army, not only Dave Hall with the Farmies, but lots of Canucks, Abbotsford Canucks news as this series progresses. So, if you're new to all of this, make sure you're checking out Canucks Army for all of your big league Canucks news, but also news and information around this Abbotsford Canuck postseason push as well. Look, it's been a pretty good time here for sports teams in Vancouver. The Whitecaps and their success, they were winners. The Warriors lost. They're at home on Sunday, so playoff lacrosse coming to Vancouver, and you would have liked Abbotsford to find a way into the win column tonight, but alas, it did not happen. All right, I think that's going to do it for us here on this Saturday. We'll wrap things there. 5-4 in overtime. Coachella Valley defeats the Abbotsford Canucks, who get a pair of goals from Jujhar Khaira, his first two of the playoffs. Nate Smith with his first of the playoffs. And Phil DiGiuseppe, the veteran, going strong here. DiGiuseppe having a decent postseason. He's got 4 points now through 5 games, so he's finding ways to contribute. He got the comeback started with a little bit of a pinball bank shot, but they all count. That made it 3-1 early in the second period, and then Abbotsford got on a bit of a roll from there. A reminder that Game 3 is Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, out at the Abbotsford Center, and as always, we'll be here right afterwards. So when that final horn sounds, whether it's regulation, whether it's overtime, make sure you're joining us for Rink Wide, the Abbotsford Playoff Edition, after Game 3 on Wednesday. Game 4, which we now know is going to take place, that'll go on Friday. And then, if necessary, the mother of all games in this series on Mother's Day. Wouldn't you know it? Game 5, take Mom out to the rink for a deciding game in this series if it is required. All right. My thanks to Jake Lazar, working hard as always behind the scenes. My name is Jeff Patterson. Really appreciate you jumping on with us here in the Abbotsford playoffs. So we're having some fun. Hope you're enjoying it as well. A few days off for all of us to step back and exhale, and we'll get back at it Wednesday. That's when we'll talk to you with the next episode of Rink Wide.